of the characters were very insufferable. Some of it is a little... This might make some people mad. I loved it so much. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my April wrap-up. Just one little disclaimer before we start. I am filming this on the 28th, just so I can get this up at a good time and the video is still good and I have time to edit it and I'm not stressing myself out. So I do think I'm probably going to finish one more book before April is over, but I will just talk about that in the May wrap-up. And don't worry, we have more than enough books to talk about because I read a ton this month, like for me at least. I mean, I think last wrap-up for the 3 months I had 15, and for this wrap-up I think I have 10 for 1 month. So yeah, let's just get into it. So the first book I read in April was Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, and I listened to this book as an audiobook while I was doing a puzzle. I was very excited for this book because I really liked A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I felt like it was done very well. I felt like the teenagers actually acted like teenagers even though they were solving crimes. Like I felt like they felt like a teenager. Like I felt like Holly Jackson's writing was really good in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. So I was excited to read her first adult fiction book. Now, I know people have loved this book, so I think this is a hot take. I gave this book a 2. I didn't really like this book that much. It did not wow me. I wasn't like that drawn in. All of the characters were very insufferable for me, and I do think part of it is I didn't love the voice acting of the audiobook. I do think that made me dislike it more, but I do genuinely, like, I just wasn't that drawn in. I didn't really care that much, and I thought I would because basically the premise is there's this girl and she is attacked, and because of this attack she only has a certain amount of time to live, and in that time she is solving her own crime. Okay, great concept, very interesting, but ultimately, like, the ending fell very flat for me, and I wasn't connected to anyone or the story. It was disappointing for me, and I know that's not true for, like, most people who read it. Most people who read it really liked it. I just didn't, okay? Next book is Compound Fracture by Andrew Joseph White. Definitely you guys have seen me read many of these on this channel. Well, 2 of them. This is his 3rd YA horror book. I really liked this. I gave it a 4.5, which I did give all the others 5s. I don't know why this one didn't hit as hard for me as Hell That Followed Us. What's the other one? That's not even the title of that one. Of these 2. It didn't hit as hard for me. I don't know why, but I still really liked it, obviously. I gave it a 4.5. I really recommend these. These are really good. Like, I've had trouble with horror books in the past. I've talked about it many times. These just really are good, and they're like queer horror, and I don't feel like we have a lot of queer horror. They really are good. I really would recommend. The only disclaimer I will give is in all of them, there is body horror. And I do think that takes place in a lot of horror, but I do want to put it out there because some of it is a little... It can be a lot. It can be a lot at times. I think this one had the least, and there still was some, for sure. But I did really like it, and I couldn't really tell you why I didn't like it as much as the others. I just don't feel like it hit me the same as the others did. I don't feel like I was on the edge of my seat for as long period of time, and I also just feel like the ending wasn't as gripping, if that makes sense. But yeah, this book is really good, but it is about the corruption of a small town and like deep-rooted family history and family feuds and being queer in the deep red South. It is really good. I would recommend Andrew Joseph White's horror novels. I haven't read his adult one. I will probably read it this year. But I would recommend the YA ones. Those are what I've read. And I probably will recommend the adult one. I don't really know how different they're going to be because, like I said, these can get pretty gory. So I'm a little scared to read the adult one because it's like, what's the big difference going to be? How crazier can we get, you know? Okay. The next book is The Hidden Life of Trees by Peter Wohlenben. I actually had originally started reading this when I was in Canada because I had wanted to read it in the woods, and it was really nice to read. I didn't have time to finish it when we were there, but I loved being able to read this. He described something and I could look up and like look around and see that for myself. I do think it was much more immersive and I had a better time reading it then. But it was then sitting on my shelf for a really long time. And I had this like, not panic, but I was like, my currently reading shelf on Goodreads and Storygraph is too big. It is like 8 books, and some of those have been on there for years. And some people would call that a soft DNF. I don't love that phrase because DNF to me is like, I didn't finish it, I'm not gonna finish it. I just like took a break and I'm coming back. But for clarity's sake, people call it soft DNF. So that was one of those. And it had been on my shelf for a bit. And I was like, I'm not going to be camping for a while, sadly, like just with me and my friends' schedules, it's just not going to happen soon. And there was a day I was going to be working outside, and so I listened to it. Now, it didn't hit the same, but I still learned a lot, and it was very interesting. I did give this a 4. I really recommend it. It wasn't like my favorite, just because I felt like there were times where it felt very repetitive, and some parts I just couldn't relate to as much because he is from the UK, and so some things that were talked about like interesting to learn about, but weren't as pertinent to me. But yeah, I did feel like it was a little repetitive and slow at points, which is why I gave it a 4, but I still really liked it. I would recommend this. This is really, really interesting. It is crazy. Like, the things you're going to learn here are like crazy, and you're like, no way that's true. Like, what are we talking about? Because of how we as a society look at plants, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know they were doing that. So I would recommend it. Okay, then the next book is Pride and Premeditation by Tirzah Price. This is a book that I've had on my currently reading for a really long time. I had read the beginning and then I had listened to the rest just because for some reason I didn't keep up with this. It wasn't hitting for me, and I was like, maybe if I can listen to it, I've had a lot of time to listen recently, then I will like it better. I gave it a 3. There was nothing wrong with it. I do think partially it is because it's YA, and this I feel like was like young middle grade YA. And that has to be very specific for me to get into it. Like, I don't know, like the romance aspects of it and the solving the case. It just, also like this time period isn't that interesting to me. Like, unless we're making commentary on certain things, like I just don't care to be in like the Victorian time period. Like, if I was reading Pride and Prejudice, yes, because it was written during that time. Whereas this, it's like, I don't feel the need to do that, you know? And so I think some people might really like this. It was a 3 for me. Obviously, it's not bad. It was just fine. Like, it was just fine. I didn't have, like, big opinions on it. Yeah, but it's off my currently reading. And I didn't hate it, obviously. Okay. Then next I read Lullaby by Chuck Palahniuk. This is the last Chuck Palahniuk book that my uncle had given me, so I do finally get to give these back to him. You don't want to know how long I've had them. I had read Haunted, and then I keep forgetting this second one I read, and it's so crazy because I gave it a 4, Survivor. I don't remember reading it, but I gave it a 4 because if, in my mind, this was my favorite. It's a 3.5. I do think there are parts of this that are similar to the problems I have with Stephen King, where I'm like, we are doing some things just for this like shocking factor. Like, there was a moment where we randomly just talked about like how this woman was unshaven. And it wasn't pertinent to the plot. It actually was talked about twice. Once someone wasn't and once someone was, and that it wasn't a scene like that. Like, But I do think there is substance to Chuck Palahniuk's books. Like, I do understand why people like them, and this concept was interesting to me and actually gave me anxiety. It actually gave me deep anxiety about having a child, and I don't have one, nor am I planning to have one right now. But they talk about SIDS a lot at the beginning, and then there's this lullaby. Okay, it was giving me some anxiety. The ending was interesting. There were some scenes, once again, that were like, oh, what is happening? I was a little grossed out. But I gave it a 3.5. It was interesting. Yeah. My third Chuck Palahniuk book. Then I listened to That's Not My Name by Megan Lally. I listened to this while doing a puzzle with my mom. Am I like having an allergic reaction? Don't mind that. I haven't rated it on here, and honestly, I'm not sure what I'm going to rate it. Basically, it is two perspectives. One, a teenage boy whose girlfriend has gone missing, and he is looking for her. And then one, a girl who woke up in the middle of the road and is bleeding, doesn't know her name, and is trying to figure out what is happening. She gets picked up by her dad, but she doesn't know anything. So I do think it was a really interesting concept, and I do think I ultimately liked it. I'm just uncertain by what I'm going to rate it. I'm not sure what I'm going to rate it. I do think the ending I predicted, but still felt a little disappointing to me. There were some things that just weren't perfect, so I do see this being a more like 3.5. But once again, like I brought up earlier for another book, I think the teenagers were written really, really well. Like, they felt like teenagers. Like, with the boyfriend, him and a few other people related to his girlfriend, like, are looking for her. And they still were acting like teenagers. And I really liked that, because I think sometimes, like, I think some parts of the Inheritance games, like, the teenagers start acting like adults, and I'm like, okay, but they wouldn't be that serious about this. Like there needs to still be that aspect of teenagers, and I think it was written really well. Like, I recommend it. It just like wasn't my favorite thriller ever. Okay, then next is another book I read and then listened to, and it is Why We Sleep: Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams by Matthew Walker. So I had originally read part of this book on my Kindle, because I had seen it at Barnes & Noble, and I have trouble sleeping. I've suffered with insomnia like my whole life, like as long as I can remember, and so I was very interested in this book. This is another book that gave me major anxiety, because I knew that getting too little sleep was bad for you. But like hearing the statistics of everything, and then the chapters about how like nowadays kids aren't getting enough sleep at all because they are on screens constantly, it like was stressing me out. But I do think it was a really interesting read. I gave it a 4. The reason I gave it a 4 is there were just a few times that I feel like the author came off a little pretentious and just like I know everything vibes. And there was some repetition as well. But I did find it very interesting. And since then, I have tried to be a little bit better on getting enough sleep. I need to be even better, but I've been trying, because like I knew the Alzheimer's aspect of it, that's really scary to me, but like literally your heart, literally working out does nothing if you don't sleep, literally like everything. Like basically every single thing. So not great, not lovely. So I've been trying to be a little bit better about it, but it was a 4 for me. It was a little slow at parts, but yeah, I listened to the second half. Then I read the 5th in the Sisters Grimm, which is called Magic and Other Misdemeanors. I had actually been partway into this book for a while. I've been reading through these slowly but surely, because these are books I should have read like in the age, is this like 12? I don't know what age these are for. I should have read them then, and my mom tried to get me to read them then, and I didn't, because I never take people's recommendations, because that is how my brain works. So I didn't read them then, but I'd owned the first one, and I've slowly been collecting them from Half Price Books, like for $4 or something, because I want them all to be the same cover. I think I only need to buy one more. But these are super cute, super fun. Maybe it was 3.5. I don't know about this one. These are hard to rate because I'm not the prime demographic anymore, but they're super cute. And a TV series is coming out, I learned, which is gonna be so cute. I like, these are like my easy read I'll throw in. And like, so if you guys have kids, make them read these. Because they're like middle grade books. It's super cute. Okay, then I read The Night Circus, and I went back and forth on reading and listening to this. This was a book that I had really wanted to read because I'd heard good things about it from A Clockwork Reader. She's like one of my favorite booktubers. I feel like her tastes line up with mine a lot of the time. I had started this, I'd read a few chapters, and then I listened to the middle, and then I read the last 100-something pages. This book has such a good atmosphere. Like, it is such a good atmosphere. Like, I was there, and like, I'm someone who can imagine things in my head. So like, I was at the circus. Like, it is so atmospheric. I think the writing is beautifully done. Like, Erin Morgenstern, beautiful writer. I think it is kind of cozy-ish fantasy, because you are in this circus for the whole book, and I loved that aspect of it. Now, I liked the storyline, but there was just one thing that like kind of gave me pause. How one of the characters was treated. What was her name? Was it Isabel? How she was treated by Marco and Cecilia. I couldn't get behind, and so I did give it a 4, and I have a hard time with unlikable main characters, but I do think that, like, this was so good. Okay, I'm about to ruin my book jacket. What is happening? Oh. I think this was written so well. I can understand why some people didn't like it, like, they got bored, because I think it is very, like, environment-driven, and there's obviously plot too, but I think that it's like character and environment driven, and I think sometimes people can have a hard time with that and get a little bored with it. But ultimately, like, I had a good time with it, and me listening to the middle did really get me into it, and then I like read the last 100-something like really fast. So yeah, I am giving it a 4 just because I didn't love a little storyline that happened. Okay, then the next book, or this is a book I DNF'd, and this doesn't happen a lot. I don't do it a lot, but I got 100 pages in, and so we are going to talk about this. This might make some people mad. American Psycho by Easton Ellis. I really wanted to like this book. I really, really did. And like I said, I got to page 100. I was on 80 and I wasn't feeling it, and I'm like, you know what? I'll get to 100, and then we will decide. I actually read to page 105. Okay, I just read the beginning of the last paragraph, and okay, I understand this book is supposed to be a satire, a comedy, but it does get to a point where I'm like, okay, so can we just say, like, anything's a satire? Like, does saying it's a satire put a Band-Aid over all the awful things that are done and said? Do you know what I mean? Like, it is still being written. I still felt genuinely so uncomfortable, and I hadn't even gotten to, I know, the worst of the worst. Like, the last scene that I just looked at was a scene that had questionable consent, and the way it is described, it made me feel sick, and I know that there is worse situations with consent later in the book, also more graphic things, and the things that had already been said were pretty graphic. And I was reading it, and I was like, okay, at what point is it no longer a satire? Because it's like, it is being written, and like, to be that guy, but like, what point is it no longer a satire when a man is writing these graphic things about women being brutally raped and murdered? So I just don't know if this wasn't for me, and like the amount of slurs said in it, and then besides those parts, the rest was really boring. Like, I was really bored. Like, we would be reading multiple pages of him just listing designer brands or high-end beauty brands. Like, I just was bored, and like, I think I could maybe watch the movie and be less bored, but I just was bored at some points, and then at other points I was like genuinely so disgusted, and it made me feel sick to be reading it, and I was like, how do we, like, at what point is it not a satire? And I know other people feel that way, but it just feels like, for me, it's just not worth it, and I just didn't feel good about it, and why continue? But I gave it to page 100 because I did really want to like it, and it was on my physical TBR. I've had it for a while, but yeah. Okay, then the last book I read this month is Never Whistle at Night. I'm not going to rate this, I don't think, just because there were some short stories in this I really just disliked, and then there were some I really, really liked. So I would just feel bad, like, giving it lower for some short stories that I literally would give a 5, and then others I would give, like, a 2. I did really like it. I'll tell you guys the stories I liked, because there's quite a bit. So I liked Kashtuka. I liked Wingless. I liked Snakes Are Born in the Dark. I liked Before I Go. I liked Before I Go a lot. Oh, I liked Behind Colin's Eyes. The Prepper was pretty good. Uncle Robert Rides the Lightning was interesting. I don't think I would give it a 5, but I liked it. Sundays was good. I love stories about revenge. Eulogy for a Brother Resurrected was interesting. I was a little confused by the ending, but I liked what was happening. And some I didn't like. Like, some I didn't. That's fine. Yeah. 360 or Collections was good. It was a short story I would like. It gave kind of Most Dangerous Game vibes, and I love Most Dangerous Game. Limbs was good. It wasn't also, like, that one also wasn't a 5, but it was interesting. So I liked a lot of them. That's why I just, like, but I disliked some, and I just don't want to give the ones I really liked a low score. So I think I'm just not going to rate Never Whistle at Night. But if you do like short horror stories, I would recommend it. There were some I really liked, like I listed, and I listed quite a few. Okay, I lied. You're going to get a review of this final book I read, which is Our Sister's Keeper by Jasmine Holmes. I'm not going to go deep dive into this because it is going to be for another video, spoiler. But I do want to say, amazing book. I don't think this comes out till June, if I'm not mistaken. It's an immediate 5 for me. I actually finished this the day I finished recording the last segment because I couldn't put it down. I think I was like a little over halfway and then I couldn't put it down. And it's horror. It touches on real world issues. It talks about so many different things. A lot of the characters are complex. Even if you still don't like them in the end, like, they're so complex. And I loved the main women in it. It was just done so well. And there were parts that shocked me, and that doesn't happen often. I usually predict things, so it's like really nice when that happens. I loved it so much. And it is one of those books, I think, that it could technically be getting more than a 5 because I am going to be thinking about this book constantly. Like, it's so good. And the cover is absolutely gorgeous. And it's just so good. I tabbed it up. It's amazing. Like, I can't recommend it enough, especially if you like horror. Like, this writer is now, Jasmine Holmes is now going to be an auto-buy author for me because this is going to be like, if people are like, what are your favorite books? Like, this is going to be recommended, you know? It's so good. It's so amazing. Great way to end the month off. But yeah, those are all the books I read this month. I think that's 10, and I do think I'll hit 11 because I do think I'm going to finish the last book I am currently reading, which puts me at 25 out of 45 books for the year, and 15 out of 34 of my physical TBR, which means it's at 44%, which I'm pretty proud of because this month I read 7 off my physical TBR. So 7 out of 10 or 7 out of 11 is pretty good if I do say so myself. I do think I know I'm going to finish my goal for this year. I haven't decided if I'm going to up it. I just don't want to up it and then I hit a reading slump, which happens sometimes. I don't want to like then feel bad I didn't finish it. So I might just let myself finish it and then give myself a pat on the back. Next year we go higher. Like, that might just be what I do. But yeah, that's going to be it for this month's wrap up. I hope I stick with this momentum of reading my physical TBR, because then I get to film a buying books video, which I'm so excited. And like I said, it's not going to be a big buying. It's mostly going to be secondhand. I'm not going overboard. I'm going to have a list of books, but I'm excited for it nonetheless. And yeah, I think that's all. So I will see you guys next week. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video. Comment down below if you've read any of these books that I talked about. And subscribe if you want to see more. But I think that's going to be it for today. So I'll see you guys next week. Bye.